Welcome to Stuff and Whiskey. I'm Erin.
I'm Josh. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today we're talking about taking a break from drinking. Are we taking a break from drinking? Maybe.
Sometimes.
Maybe we should. Maybe you should. Maybe we all should from time to time. We're going to get into this. We get some comments sometimes that kind of reference this a little bit. And then also shout out to Matt Burns, member of our Patreon community and a dear friend, for bringing this topic up as well, because he was taking a little break and he was like, man, after a break, how do you get your palate to come back into line where things taste right for you, because things weren't tasting right to him for a minute after he took a break. So we're going to talk about all that today. But I think first off, what we need to talk about is the fact that breaks are good. It's good to take a break from drinking.
For sure.
Now, they're not necessarily, but they can be good depending on who you are and what your type is. So
what your personality type is, yeah.
Yeah, well, and look,
like your preferences.
If you can't take a break, that's a major red flag. Let's go ahead and just put that out on the table.
Yeah.
Later on, I'm going to tell a little bit of a personal story.
Oh, okay.
But we have many times when we go to your parents' house, dry house, and we don't drink, and we're there for a week at a time. And, you know, I've had friends be like, oh man, do you like put whiskey in the trunk? Do you sneak out to the car? I'm like, no, I'm fine not drinking for a week. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, that's typically what I do. So I think if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you know we batch film our content. We record 1 week's worth of content in one sitting. So we film every weekend. And oftentimes I don't drink anything in the weeks and like in the days between our filming weekends. Every so often I will if we have an event to go to or something like that. But if it's just us at home, I'm often not drinking any alcohol in between filming. So I regularly take breaks just because that's what makes me feel better personally.
Yeah.
And I just like it that way. So
yeah. Whereas me, I'm a little bit more consistent with drinking. I just choose to go with the more often but in moderation thing.
Yeah,
so usually I will just have, you know, this was from yesterday's video, Old Elk double wheat, 107 proof, but you know, I would have a little bit more than this, and I might have that maybe more nights, more often than not, have a pour at nighttime. But there are nights where I just don't feel like having a drink, and I won't have a drink.
Yeah.
And it's just as simple as that. So it really is a little bit of an intuitive thing. What I think we want to point out is if it ever becomes a compulsion or you can't stop, that's when you should definitely seek out some help. Well, actually, I'll put some links in the video description below for some resources for you. And look, there is no shame in even wondering, like, man, is this getting a little out of control for me? Like, it's a hobby, but it can be a slippery slope. So whether that be with consumption, with spending, with whatever, you know, don't be afraid to check yourself. Don't let it get out of control.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's what I always say.
A wise prophet once said that. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into the next piece of the video, which is how you get your palate back after you take a break.
Okay.
Since you take such frequent breaks, since you take frequent breaks so often, pretty much every week, how do you feel when you get back into having a sip of something?
I think I take a pretty laid back approach. I don't expect to get anything, especially that first sip back. You know, after, let's say we film on one Sunday and then I don't drink anything until the next filming day. We always do like a warm-up pour, and that warm-up pour is usually just something to get us acclimated, making sure whiskey tastes like whiskey, but I'm not trying to get anything out of it. I'm just trying to make sure that like it tastes like whiskey. So I think for me, let's say I were to do like a 3-month-long break or a month-long break. I know a lot of people do like dry months. If I were to do a dry month, I would just approach myself like, just give myself grace coming back into it. Be very chill about it. Just know that probably the first few pours, maybe even that first day of pours that you have coming back, it may not hit you like things used to hit you, and that's okay. Just kind of be easy on yourself. Yeah.
I think I can't agree more than that. It's not a big deal. It's all right if it takes you a little while. I mean, for instance, if you are working out and you take a break from lifting weights, you can't take a 2-month-long break from lifting weights and then go back right into lifting the same weights you lifted.
That's a very good point.
You're going to wreck yourself. You have to build up to it.
Yeah.
So
You don't
careful.
always have to go back to where you started originally, but maybe just down a little weight.
Right.
So, like, don't expect Coy Hill. If you love Coy Hill, it might seem a little hot if you take a dry month.
Yeah.
When you come back to it, it might be a little spicy.
To my weightlifting analogy,
Yeah.
also, let's say you do a fast for some reason. Let's say you do a week-long fast or even like a 3-day fast.
Mm-hmm.
The first meal back does not need to be stuffing your face with whatever you ate before. You're going to make yourself sick.
Yeah.
You have to approach with caution. And I think that for me, it's the same way with whiskey.
Mm.
And the best story I have for this, we went away to your parents' house for Christmas one year, a couple years ago. And when we came back, this was in 2023.
Okay.
Because this bottle had just come out. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C923.
Okay.
And I loved this so much. 133 proof, 13 years, 7-month-old, barrel proof Kentucky bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
And we were gone to your parents' house and we came back and I had just gotten a bottle of this and I drank a little bit of it.
Before we left, you drank some?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when we got back, I was so looking forward to getting into it. And I made it my first pour after a week off. And it basically ripped my face off like a wild banshee. And it was so hot. I ended up shelving it. And the next night, I had another pour of it to see if I came back around. Again, it ripped my face off. And it was just hot lava. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just start with something a little bit lower on the proof point scale. And I had something that was really familiar. Which, to me, warm-up pours are a big deal. Just like stretching for workouts, whatever. It's important to warm up. So I love keeping bottles around that are like 90 to 100 proof, a profile that I know and enjoy. And there's another little nugget of wisdom in here. I think that it's not by any means my wisdom. It's just something I picked up along the way. When you have a warm-up pour and it is something that is hyper familiar to you and it's something you drink often, even if it's just a couple sips as a warm-up, usually I would put about this amount, 2 sips in a glass, and I would taste something like Buffalo Trace, Four Roses Small Batch, Early Times Bottled in Bond, Elijah Craig Small Batch, 1792 Small Batch, these types of pours. When I'm drinking that bottle consistently as a warm-up, I know if it tastes the way it's supposed to taste or not. So then when I go into something like this, I've already got my palate ready to go. And I also know if that warm-up pour tasted the way it should or not. If I taste Buffalo Trace and it tastes hot, good Lord, I can't imagine what this is going to taste like.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If I taste Four Roses Small Batch and it tastes unbelievably floral or sour, I already know my palate isn't right that day. And the things that you eat, the other things that you drink, even your mood can affect your palate and how you read your taste.
Facts. I can confirm that.
Yeah. So I think it's important. A lot of times I see people who will critically judge something, a pour of whiskey, and it's like, okay, well, you ate curry an hour before you tasted it, and of course your palate is wrecked. You're not going to taste correctly. You know, we actually, I mentioned curry because we have some Penang beef curry, some Thai curry
so
in the fridge right now.
And I was going to have it for lunch today, and Josh was like, I think I'm going to wait till we're not filming. And I was like, yeah, I probably should too. Yeah.
So we had a little bit more of a bland lunch because we had to record some videos for you guys this week. But these are important points, you know?
Yeah.
Like, don't eat spaghetti and then taste some whiskey and think it's going to taste right.
Ooh,
also,
I've done that, and it works. It does taste good to me.
Depending on the day. Get your warm-up pour in there and give yourself some time to work back into the higher proof, something like this.
And just go easy on yourself. Don't expect you to, again, to your weightlifting analogy.
Yeah.
Don't expect to be able to lift the weights you were lifting before you took a break, or after. So same thing goes with this.
Now look, I am the worst about this. And I was going to say something like this Old Elk double wheat 107 proof, have a warm-up pour, have something, kind of leave this to be the ceiling for maybe a couple days or maybe even a week while you're getting back into things before you go back into the heavy-handed stuff.
Yeah.
Or work your way up. Start with something lower proof, work your way into like a 107, 110 proof, and then go up to something like this. Don't just start off here. But I was going to say, this is my MO. Like, we take a break, we go to your families for a week, and then I come back and drink this first thing.
So is this like a do as I say, not as I do?
No, it's just, I know it's a bad habit of mine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't run for 6 months and then I go run 5 miles.
And then you hurt yourself.
And then I'm wrecked for weeks.
Yeah.
When I could have just eased back into it. Or I don't lift weights for a month because we got busy or I got sick or something. Or I got injured. And then I come back and I try to get crazy and do what I was doing before. And I end up hurting myself again. Or I'm so sore that I can't even walk right for a week.
Yep.
So
it's take your own advice day.
Yeah. It was take your own advice. And it's like, my grandmother used to say, act like you got some sense. And I'm applying it to this too. Drink like you got some sense.
It's a good word.
Be cool.
Drink like you got some sense.
Be cool. There's no rush. It's not a race.
Yeah.
So yeah, just maybe save the heavy hitter bottles till your palate's all the way back and the lower proof stuff is tasting the way it's supposed to before you start wasting good whiskey on a palate that's not ready for it.
Yeah.
So
love it.
Hopefully that was good. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you regularly take breaks? I know some people do quarterly dry weeks. Some people do annual dry months.
Mm-hmm.
Some people just don't only drink on the weekends. We would love to hear some strategies for moderation. Or are you a little bit more like me where you might have a pour 3, 4, 5 nights a week, but you just keep the volume pretty low so you're never really overdoing it that way. Love to hear from you guys down in the comments below, as well as how you get your palate back after you've had a break.
Absolutely. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the question, Matt. We appreciate that.
Definitely.
Yep.
Also, while you're down there, you can check a link to our Patreon, and you can get plugged into a great community of great people who love good whiskey. And that's what we're all about here.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're all about on our Patreon. And people are always down to help people out. You get plugged into our Discord through our Patreon, and then that's where people are helping people find bottles. I got 2 of these C923s directly through our Patreon. People helping out.
People are good people.
Sample swap. I sent a lot of these out in sample swaps and things like that, just because I want people to try it. We have stuff going on over there all the time, as well as where we release our barrel picks. And that is one of the big challenges for us as far as moderation goes, is when we're picking so many barrels. But we pick a lot of really good barrels for you guys and make them available to you so you can order them. They can get dropped off right at your door. But you can check all that down in the video description below in that link.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching, y'all. I think we're done, right?
Yeah, check shirts out. If you like shirts like this Batman and Catwoman, this Glencairn got the signal up. You can check that out at stuffandwhiskey.com. That's linked in the video description as well. And I'll put a pinned comment with all this stuff in it too.
Cool. That's smart.
Yeah.
As always, be good to each other. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers and drink responsibly. And take care of yourself. And
should've
take care of each other.
I should have said be good and do good.
Well, take care of each other.
I think I want to start saying that.
Be good to each other is good. But be good and do good.
I kind of want to say that.
Well, if you're doing good, you're automatically...
Be good and do good.
Okay. I mean, that's what you tell me all the time.
That's what I tell you all the time.
Why do you tell me all the time? Do you think I need reminding? Do you think I'm not going to be good or do good?
It's like my mom always told me, remember who you are and whose you are.
Okay.
And whenever I say be good and do good, Avery always comes back with, make good choices. As I'm dropping her off at school, I'm like, yeah, I'll make good choices.
That's fair. You should. You should make good choices.